Mem Gimel Amid Aleph. We'll begin Daf Mem Beis Amid Beis, 2 lines from the bottom at the 2 dots. Rabbi Lezer adds to the list also women's cosmetics. Do you mean to say literally women's cosmetics? There's no chametz in that. Why should that be in the list of things that contain chametz? What he means to say is not the makeup, not the cosmetics, but the depilatories, the pastes that are used to remove body hair. The B'nais Yisrael, Shegia Lapirkan, which they reach the age to where their maturity. Meaning physically they reach the age of maturity, so they start to grow body hair. But they haven't reached the age where normally that happens. Then, so they want to remove it. The poor daughters, they would remove it with lime. That's how they would remove the hair. And they would do it with a mixture with a plaster made with fine flour. The nice melochim, but the daughters of royalty, b'shemen amor, they would use it with the oil of mor. Shenemar shish chadoshim b'shemen amor. It says 6 months by the notion of the besulos that were prepared for Hasheresh. They 6 months prepared them with shemen hamor. My shemen hamor, what's shemen hamor? Rav Huna bar Yehuda Omer, he said, it's stachas. It's called satachas. So that's what shemen hamor is. That's what it is. With Rashi says we don't know the precise definition of satachas. For Yirmi bar Abba Amar, he says what it means is referring to shemen zayit shalai hevi shlish. It's oil from olives that have not grown a third of the full ripeness. Tanya, we learn in the Brayso of Yehuda Omer on pinkin shemen zayit shalai hevi shlish. Pakinan is shemen zayis that haven't been grown a third of the full ripeness. Why do they anoint themselves with this oil? Because it removes the hair. It's mashir the seir, and it caused the skin to glow. So that's how it had the benefits of that oil. The question arises, and Taisus deals with this, is that how can we say that this is the depilatory, or according to one of the opinions previously, we said the Krelin Shel Seifrim was a depilatory, the opinion of Shimon Nahardoi. Taisus answers by saying that there's 2 types of creams or pastes that are used to remove hair. Previously, we were talking about facial hair. Here we're talking about body hair, which is more repulsive to people, and therefore it would be, according to Rabbi Lezer, this is considered to be chometz nuksha, which now leads into another issue, another question. Is this in fact a machlokes between Rabbi Lezer and the Chachamim? Is Rabbi Lezer saying that this is chometz nuksha, and perhaps the Chachamim would argue with this? Or is Rabbi Lezer saying that this is chometz nuksha and Koilin Shel Seifrim would not be chometz nuksha? Or is there no machlokes? And this is the opinion of the writer. It's not a machlokes. Rabbi Lezer is just adding to the list, but there's no machlokes. The Ran says there is, in fact, a machlokes over here. So this is the koilan. This is rather the takshite notion. Zeh klal. So the Mishnah says this is the rule. Zeh klal kol shu mimin dog, and anything that has grain in it is now a person would be over on Pesach. Tanya, Amar Rav Yeshua said, if that's the rule, so why did they make this list over here? So the rule is, whatever has dogan, whatever it may be, why do we specify these specific items? Our answer is, the person should be familiar with them and their names, so you should know, be aware that this has chometz. A certain bar marava from Eretz went to Bavel. He went to Bavel. He had meat with him. He said to his host, he said, serve me some takilta, serve a condiment so that I can eat it with my bread. Then he heard them saying, serve him kutach. So they confused it, kilta with kutach. So then he heard that they were going to bring him kutach. So came in the shama kutach pirish. Once he heard that, then he didn't eat it. Now, if he didn't know what kutach was, and he didn't know that kutach had milk in it, he had meat, and had not known and not been familiar with the name, then he would have eaten bosa b'chol. So this shows the importance of being familiar with these items, and that's why the Chachamim listed these items in the Mishnah, that we be familiar with them and know that they contain chametz. These are what we list in the Mishnah. They have a lav. There's an ashara, but there's no chorus. Man Tana, who's a Tana, holds that chametz dogen gomer al yidei taruvitz, that if it's full-fledged chametz, that is so. However, it's through a mixture. It's not be'en. Oh, and then nuksha be'ene, or alternatively nuksha chametz nuksha, which is be'en, even without a taruvitz, is balav. That there's a lav and there's no chorus. So who's the Tana that holds that way? That even if it's full-fledged chametz, but it's al yidei taruvitz, it's not be'en, or if it's a nuksha, then if it is even be'en, nuksha we're saying, and nuksha is chametz that is somewhat unedible. Now the way the Magen Avraham explains that, it doesn't mean that it's totally unedible. It's somewhat unedible, and people generally would not eat it. And however, he qualifies this and says that it means from its inception that's the way it was. From the inception, it was from the time that it became a chametz, it was unedible. It was at a stage where it was not it's not fully edible. That is chametz nuksha. He holds, however, that if it was chametz gomer, from its inception it was edible chametz gomer that later became not roy, then it does not have the din of chametz nuksha. It has still a din of chametz gomer, and it would be chayiv. And it would be chayiv, of course. So who's the Tana that holds that if it's chametz gomer al yidei taruvitz, the chametz nuksha is belav? Omar Rabbi Yehuda Rab Meri. The Tana of our Mishnah is Rab Meir. The Tanya, because we learned in a brayso, says siur yisarif. Siur has to be burned. So firstly, what is the definition of siur? What is siur? Siur is not saor. Saor is sourdough. Saor is chametz that is strong enough to be mechametz other things, to make other things chametz. Siur is at the first stage of becoming chametz. It's dough that is in the early stages of becoming chametz. So there's a machlokes Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. What are the early stages? According to Rabbi Meir, he says when it starts to turn white, then it's called siur. When thin cracks start to form, that's chametz gomer. According to Rabbi Yehuda, then he says no, that when it turns white, it's not considered chametz at all. When it forms small cracks, then it's siur, that's siur, and it's only chametz gomer when the cracks crisscross, when there's so many cracks that it crisscrosses. So that's the machlokes and what we consider to be siur. So the brayso says that siur yisarif. Siur has to be burned, meaning that it's considered chametz and it's also bahano, it has to be burned. But then it says v'noisen lekalba, you can give it to your dog. Then it says v'oichel ba'arboim, and if you eat it on Pesach, you get malchus. So for the Gemara, haguf kasha, it seems to be a steer minei ubei. Haguf kasha, amra siur yisarif. It says that it's burnt. Alma also bahano. Therefore, that shows you that it's also bahana. And then it says, that he gives it to his dog to eat. Alma muter bahana. That shows you that it's muter bahana. If you give it to your dog, it's muter bahana. More answers. Siur yisaref, the Rameir, the Rameir, the Rabbi Yehuda, the Rabbi Yehuda. If it's siur, each one according to their shita, but if it is siur, it has to be burnt. It's considered chametz to the extent that it's also bahana, and it has to be burnt. V'noisen lekalba, but that it says that it's muter bahana, and you can give it to your dog, the Rameir, the Rabbi Yehuda. That is what it means, and that statement is the siur of Rameir, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is not siur. So that seer, when it just turns white, Rav Meir considers it to be seer, but Rav Yehuda says it's not seer. So according to Rav Yehuda, you can give it to your dog. And then it says that if you eat a bar boy, also Rav Meir, that's referring to one who eats seer. Then, according to Rav Meir, if he eats seer, then he is chayv, he eats on Pesach, chayv malchus. That's going according to Rav Meir. The Sach points out that it's not according to Rav Meir because according to Rav Yehuda, even the definition of seer, even Rav Yehuda's definition of seer, but you're not chayv malchus, so he holds you're not chayv malchus for it. So that must be referring to Rav Meir. So Shamina Leila Rav Meir, therefore we see from here that Shamina Rav Meir, nuksha be'ena be'lav. We see from here that nuksha, the chametz nuksha be'en, if it's not al yidei taruvis, be'en is belav. Because seor really is, the way Rashi learns, I'll call upon him, it's really chametz nuksha. It's the early stages of chimutz, where it's not considered that edible. So that's considered chametz nuksha. So you see, I'll call upon him, you see that chametz nuksha is belav. So according to Rameir, you see that it's belav. The kol shekain, and we would say the kol shekain, chametz gomer, chametz dog and gomer al yidei taruvis, and certainly chametz dog and gomer al yidei taruvis, because according to this understanding over here, according to this understanding of Rabbi Yehuda, that if we would say that chametz nuksha is considered to be chametz, that it's also kol shekain chametz dogan al yidei taruvis. And according to his svara, if it's be'en, even though it's only nuksha, but it's be'en, that's more of a reason to consider it chometz than it is even chometz dog and gomer, but it's only yidei teruva. So if we see that nuksha, that seer, we see that it's considered to be a lav, and then you're chayiv and you get malchus, then certainly chometz gomer al yidei teruva. That's the approach of Rav Yehuda, the Amoira Rav Yehuda. Rav Nachman has a different approach. He says, Rabbi Eliezer, the Tana of the Mishnah is Rabbi Eliezer. The Sanya Rabbi Eliezer says, Al Chometz dog and gomer onish koretz. On Chometz dog and gomer, if it's complete Chometz, your onish koretz. Al Eiruvoi belav. The Rabbi Eliezer. If it's Al Yidei Taruvis, it's with lav. That's what Rabbi Eliezer says. Al Chometz dog and gomer onish koretz. Al Eruva b'loi klum. But they say v'taruvis shenachai. So the Tana is Rabbi Eliezer. So we learn from here that Rabbi Eliezer holds chametz dog and gomer al yidei taruvus belav. That if it's chametz dog and gomer, if it's al yidei taruvus, it's in a mixture, then there's a lot. The kol shekain nuksha be'en, and then certainly we would say that nuksha be'en certainly would be a lav. So Rav Nachman, my time why did Rav Nachman not like whole review and say the Tana is Rav Meir? Omerla Dilma Adloi Akan Ka Loi Kama Rav Meir Hasimel Nuksha Bein. He says, well, you see that in Rav Meir says Nuksha Bein. He says that's Nuksha Bein, but maybe that's only Chometz Nuksha, that it's Bein. But he was whole of Al Chometz Dogan and Gomer Al Yedei Taruvis Loi. But Chometz Dogan Gomer Al Yedei Taruvis, that which he holds is a lesser level than Nuksha, which is Be'en, perhaps not. Because according to his svara, he holds that Nuksha Be'en is more of a reason to be Mechayiv than Chametz Dogan al Yidei Taruvas. So therefore, you have no right, and it's from there. He says, therefore, the Tana is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yehuda, my time, lo yamar Rav Nachman. And why does Rabbi Yehuda not say like Rav Nachman, the Tana is Rabbi Eliezer? Because he holds, the Gemara says, the Gemara answers, because according to him, the Gemara is fakir. Because because where did he say that? That's Chametz dog and gomer al yidei taruvas. Where he says that. He doesn't say nuksha ben. And according to his svara, according to Rabbi Yehuda's svara, he says Chametz dog and gomer al yidei taruvas is stronger, more of a reason that it's chametz than it is al yidei nuksha, even though it's ben. So therefore, they hold svaras hafuchas, and therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, he says the Tana is Rav Meir. According to Rav Nachman, he says the Tana is Rabbi Eliezer. Tanya Kaval says the Rabbi Yehuda, we have a brayso that supports Rabbi Yehuda and says that the Tana is Rav Meir. It says Kol machmetzes leisachel. Anything that has chometz that has been leavened leisachel, you can't eat it. L'rabbis, so it's kol machmeses, it's l'rabbis kudach habavli, v'sheich ha'amalai, v'chaymes ha'adaymi, v'zeisam ha'mitzri. It's including all these things that even though they have a taruvas, we say we're including them in the Isser. Yachal Yayanish Koros, you might think, well, if they're considered chometz, and therefore they should have all the dinim of chometz, and therefore there's also a punishment of koros of one eats it. Talmud Loima, then Pasuk says, Ki kol oichal chometz v'neprosa. It says if you eat chometz, it's koros. Al chometz dagan gomer anish koros. It's only chometz dagan gomer v'alei ruva belav. But if it's a taruvas, it's only belav. So man shamalei damar al eru belav. Who's the Tana that says that it's al eru belav, that the taruvas are lav? It's Rav Elazar. Ve'ilu nuksha bein loy komer. Now he says only chometz dagan al yidei taruv. He doesn't say nuksha. Shema mina nuksha Rav Elazar leslie. So don't you see from here? You learn out from here that nuksha be'en, that he doesn't hold. He holds there's no issur for that. So therefore you have a raya that it's Rabbi Elazar, and he holds that it's only al yidei taruves, but not al yidei, but not nuksha. Taisus has the kasha. Well, what do you mean? Maybe the reason he said chometz dagan al taruves is he's telling you chometz dagan al taruves, and kol shekain that it would be including nuksha, like the Surah of Rav Nachman. So how do you know to support Rabbi Yehuda over here? Maybe it says, yes, it only says that it's al yidei taruvis, but maybe it's the Surah of Nachman and kol shekain nuksha bein. Taisus answers no, because he should have said nuksha to teach you. If that was the case, it should have said nuksha and tell you that there's no chorus by nuksha. And that would have been the chiddush that it should tell me. By omitting nuksha at all, completely rather, it seems to imply, therefore, that it's only chometz dagan al yidei taruvis, and nuksha is not included. So we have a raya over here. We support the position over here of Rabbi Yehuda.